Welcome back, guys. I'm back with more Little Legends, continuing our Black History celebration of book reading. And so, last time we left off with Frederick Douglass. Today, we're going to talk about Bass Reeves. And he was born 1838. He lived till 1910. He was a deputy U.S. Marshal. Bass was born enslaved in Arkansas. As a boy, he was made a personal servant to Colonel George Reeves, who allowed Bass to learn to use a shotgun. Bass was so skilled that he even excelled in turkey shooting competitions. When people saw how good he was, they barred him from competing. Bass understood that. As an enslaved person, there was no winning for him. George took Bass with him to fight for the Confederacy in the Civil War. Bass was able to escape to Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma. He hid until the end of the war, learning the language and customs of the Seminole, Cherokee, and Creek peoples. It really was the Wild West, a lawless land for miles around. Since tribal courts had no jurisdiction over U.S. citizens, many criminals crossed into Indian territories to hide out. It was the job of the U.S. Marshals to go in and capture the bad guys. In 1875, when the head of the Marshals needed to appoint his deputies, he thought of Bass, who knew the land, spoke the languages, and was an incredible shot. Bass was one of the first black deputy U.S. Marshals. It was a dangerous job. In Bass's time, more than 100 U.S. Marshals were killed in the line of duty. He was never shot, but had a few close calls, including one when the bad guys got his hat. He brought in around 3,000 criminals. Before long, people far and wide knew Bass's reputation. The tough as nails, sharpshooting, 6'2" black deputy. He could shoot with both hands, but Bass chose to shoot only when necessary. Instead, he liked to use disguises and tricks to outsmart the criminals to make an arrest. He wasn't just about bad guys for Bass. He loved animals and went out his way to stand up against animal cruelty. It's speculated that Bass was the inspiration for the Lone Ranger, the fictional mass hero of the Old West. There's no way of knowing for sure, but we do know that Bass was a real-life good guy who fought for justice. Wow. You know, guys, I can't help it. I just want to read a little bit more. Can I tell you about one more legend today? I know we're going to do at least one a day, but I can't help it. What do you say? All right. Cool. All right. And our next person is Mr. Robert Smalls. Robert Smalls was born from 1839, lived till 1915. He was a seaman, a congressman. Robert Smalls was born enslaved in South Carolina. Robert was the son of a black woman and a white man. Because his father was likely one of the white men on the plantation, as a child, Robert was given special treatment and was allowed to work on the waterfront in Beaufort. However, his mother made sure to educate her son about the dangers a black person faced in the pro-slavery South. Robert excelled on the water. Eventually, he earned the position of wheelman, effectively the boat's pilot, and the highest job a black person could get on a ship. At 17, Robert fell in love with an enslaved hotel maid named Hannah. He wanted to purchase her freedom, but would never be able to make enough money. To stay together, they needed to escape. Because he had been sailing for many years when the Civil War began, Robert knew the Charleston waterways well. In 1862, while working aboard the Planter, transporting weapons and supplies for the Confederate Army, he saw his opportunity to make an escape. When the white officers left the boat for the night, Robert put on a big hat and gloves so the soldiers would think he was the captain. Quietly, the black crew picked up their families and some other enslaved people and set sail north, carefully, navigating past the Confederate forts. When they reached the Union blockade, they flew a white flag, and Robert surrendered the ship, along with the Confederate supplies on board. Robert became a national hero and celebrity. He even met Abraham Lincoln and recruited for the Union Navy and Army until the end of the war. Afterward, he didn't stop fighting. He moved back to South Carolina, opened a school, and started a newspaper for black people. His record as a war hero helped him become a delegate at the post-war Constitutional Convention in South Carolina, and in 1874 he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. Robert was a daring and determined man who fought for his country, his people, and his freedom. Thank you, Brother Robert Smalls. And well, guys, that concludes our stories for today. But please come back tomorrow, as I can't wait to share more of the little legends, exceptional black men in history. Thank you.